I feel like Anne-Marie doesn't like safety. I feel like Anne-Marie is very much about risk and risk only. I think Cash and Darren are so unique and so gorgeous. It's such a abnormal, different, non-conventional love story for someone that is so irritating and for someone that really does the most when they really don't need to. I didn't think she'd be that stupid. Hi everybody, how are we? Hope you're well, safe, hydrated, well rested, and everything in between. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jord. This is the Winning Side Podcast, Heartbreak High edition. I hope you're well rested, hydrated, and everything in between. So for those of you who do not know me, hello, how are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying the very depressing weather in London as of now. And for those of you who do know me, what are you saying? How are you? Did you miss me? Because I missed you. This is very Heartbreak High coded. I was going to say it's very Heartbreak High coded. It's only Heartbreak High coded. This conversation is going to be about season 3 of Heartbreak High. I love this show with every being and every inch of my body. It's just my fanboy era, my pop culture boy era. This show means so much. I genuinely think this show is extremely groundbreaking. It was a cultural reset. It really positioned Gen Z representation in a complete different landscape. I think there was a midpoint between it being realistic and relatable and entailing certain characters that don't always get the spotlight or the shadowing they deserve, that being people who are autistic, that being people who are asexual. We don't really get to unravel conversations a lot about non-binary people as well, or people that have struggles with intimacy because of external factors. I think this show's goated. Anyone who knows me knows how much I love this show, and I will continue to go on about this show for the rest of my life. And I'm 27, so I've got quite a lot of time, But yeah, the show's so important. It's easily one of my favorite shows of all time. I think the acting is phenomenal, and yeah, let's get into it. The way I want to break down this conversation is I want to talk about, I'll give an overview, obviously. I want to talk about what I liked about the show, what I didn't like about the show, and then probably just some thoughts that I forgot to include at the end, to be honest. But yeah, I'm excited. So let's go. Okay, so Heartbreak High. So the way that season 2 of Heartbreak High ended was when the fire obviously got out of control within the building, which then led to Anne-Marie and Harper being stuck with that bird psycho. What was his name? I actually can't remember. But yeah, and then it kind of ended with a lot of uncertainty, what will happen with Darren and Cash. Malachi has gone to Switzerland. What was written in the letter? Will Malachi return back to Haverly High? There's so many questions, and even the futures of the other students, that being Harper, Quinny, what will happen to Missy and Spider, even Ant. I do love Ant, bless him. I just can't, Ant as a plumber, I'm here for it. So there's a lot to unpack. And I think there was a real drive for season 3 because it wasn't I think it was quite quickly renewed afterwards, but the release wasn't, and I feel there was, I think one of the beauties of Heartbreak High is because they really do have a break, it kind of creates this hunger for more. Do you know what I mean? As lovers of Heartbreak High, we crave it, we want it, we need it. And yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this show, and I'm just so happy that they actually got an ending which happened. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so what I liked about the show, I feel this season in particular had a lot of character development. I feel sometimes with TV shows, no shade, no names, the character development feels a bit out of place, a bit out of touch, the character development doesn't always hit. And I think sometimes people do it because they want to see a character progress, but it doesn't actually really make sense, you know? I do think that it was really... I mean, I'm not in the writer's room. I have no connection with anyone who works on the team at Heartbreak High, but I do feel like it was really well thought out. You know, we watched like a slow transition between the debut in season 1 in 2022 to then there being slight tweak improvements in season 2 to then being like a full reassured positioning in season 3, you know? And when I think of the character who's had like the biggest character development progression within the entirety of the show is Spider. You know, when we were introduced to Spider in season 1, Spider is very cruel. He's mean. He's a bit misogynistic. He's quite homophobic. You know, he's a very like Jack the Lad demeanor, you know? And then like he maintains that aura throughout the entirety of season 1. But then when he starts being with Missy, we see this more softer, intimate side to him. Spider has issues with being intimate with women because of his relationship with his mother. So like, I'm not justifying that type of behavior. I feel like we all have stuff going on and it doesn't always leave a knock-on effect, but I get it. You know, I get where the root has come from. I'm not saying the root is right. I'm not saying the root is cute. I'm just saying like it does make sense, you know, because I feel like every insecure person has a reasoning or like a backlog as to why they are the way they are, you know? And it's usually, a lot of the time when they're being so horrible and so cruel, it's because they're projecting it onto someone else to like unleash the burden or like the negative feelings or connotations which they have within themselves, you know? Like it's completely logical. Like I really do hear it. Spider is like super affectionate in season 3, like super affectionate, like he really loves Missy, and I think he's like excited by the fact of seeing something long-term with someone, you know. I think it reassures him because I don't think he had that stable relationship with his mum. And I think obviously, and even like with Anne-Marie, like he obviously really liked Anne-Marie, didn't he? The night where Harper goes missing and Anne-Marie is dressed trying to find her, ends up with Spider, and then when Spider can't get it up, Anne-Marie just laughs at him, you know, which makes a lot of sense why he's so horrible to Anne-Marie for like all of season 1. But then when we see him in season 3 with Missy, he's so affectionate. He's smothered by her, you know, like the way that he is with her family and friends, the way that he even is to everyone else as well. Like we wouldn't have seen like a conversation taking place between Darren and Spider in season 1 or maybe even season 2, you know. And even like Zoe is like obviously like quite difficult, quite challenging, but like it works, you know. And I think Spider's relationship with Missy has made him better. He literally says to Missy in season 2, "You make me want to be better." And I think that's really beautiful, like really beautiful, you know. I really subscribe to it. I'm really, really happy to see it. And I just think it's great. I'm really like happy to see that Spider has really changed for the better because like you can tell, you know, as someone who like loves loves film and loves analyzing, you know, anyone who's into that, you can tell that Spider, there's a lot of layers, you know. He was insecure and I think he's so secure of himself. And it is quite sad they weren't Endgame, it is. But I think also like what shows his growth even more is how mature he is after the breakup, you know? He's not horrible, he's not abrupt, he's not abusive, he's hurt quite clearly, you know? And I think a lot of it is due to a lack of communication. Like Missy really did not communicate with Spider the way that he deserved it, in all fairness. And I think from his perspective, in a way, he probably thinks, I've done so much work on myself. Why has the same not been done for you? Or like, why can you not give me the same? Especially when she was quite good at communication when they were like fooling around. But then sometimes the idea of the seriousness is what like makes people feel a certain way and makes them like not want to, maybe not even not want to partake, but makes them feel like different or unsure about how to move next, you know? I think there was a part where like Missy said to Spider about how like the mention of Missy being the mother of his kids like kind of shook her up a bit, which I do kind of get because I feel like it makes it real, you know? And I think because of his like difficult relationship with women, I think he saw Missy as like end goal, you know, end game, which isn't a shame, which didn't happen, unfortunately. But yeah, it doesn't take away how he's changed the character. You know, she's changed him for the better, but permanently for the better. Woodsy has improved as well. Woodsy's the principal, obviously, of Hartley High. Is it Hartley High? I think when we're first introduced to Woodsy, she's quite abrupt, you know, she's quite abrupt, she's quite rigid, she's quite stone cold. Season 2 is still a bit mediocre because it feels like, I get there's obviously like layers as a principal, but it feels like for a lot, she's just quite like cold and inhumane, right? And I would love to have known a bit more of a backstory. You do see glimmers, though, of her changing in season 2 because she gives Harper driving lessons. And I think in season 3, she just becomes like very approachable and understanding. She's still trying to keep her like professionalism, obviously, but there are like things that slip through the crack. Her taking Malachi home and Malachi not being able to keep shut about all the business that went down at the fair, you know, but like Woodsy in season 1 would have like called the police as Malachi was stepping out of the car, you know, whereas this time round she consults everyone, she warns them prior, she speaks to Malachi's parents, parent, you know, and even when we get to see like a new different dynamic between her and Taz, obviously she has no kids. It's her first time taking on like a motherly role, you know, and we get a more deeper insight when like Taz is obviously feeling a certain type of way because Taz's mum, who is Woodsy's sister, died and Woodsy didn't stick around, but Woodsy said to Taz that she couldn't hack it, you know. It's a whole new level of intimacy and it's character growth, natural character growth. And it's quite, even though like I'm like a bit hit and miss with like the idea of new characters in the final season, I do think Taz was a nice suited addition. You know, I did enjoy her character apart from when she effed up Quinny's scholarship. That I'm still not over that. I'm with Quinny through and through. But no, I'm very here for it. I also think Cash has improved so much as well. Cash has like been so interesting because Cash has like always like wanted certain things, that being like intimacy, well, to an extent, comfort, familiarity, you know. And I think because of his background, it was really hard to escape that Eshe lifestyle. He's very like fully in it in season 1. Season 2, you can see he's trying to like slowly like ease out of it, but it's not that straightforward, you know. It's not that simple, unfortunately. And then season 3 is a complete 360. Cash in season 3 is like is somewhat reborn, you know, like he is very queer presenting, he's very delved into femininity, you know. It almost feels like he's at home. I feel like Darren saved Cash, you know. He's able to be him true self and he's able to feel safe and loved, you know. And I think because Cash has come from a difficult upbringing and background, I think initially he didn't know how to adapt to that. And even the way that he's just so affectionate with Darren is just so beautiful. I do feel like, yeah, if someone does not love me the way that Darren and Cash do, I'm not interested. If someone does not care for me the way that Darren and Cash do, I want a receipt. Like, you know, if someone isn't riding for me the way that Darren and Cash do, I don't want to hear it. I think Cash and Darren are so unique and so gorgeous, you know. It's such a abnormal, different, non-conventional love story, you know. They come from completely different worlds that really do not cross paths a lot of the time, and the fact that all the obstacles in between were in place, yet they are still so dedicated to each other because they love each other so much, is like really beautiful and really refreshing, you know. My man Cash has literally never left the state he lives in, yet he's willing to get on a plane and move continent because he's so dedicated to Darren. Some guys won't even text back. Darren, hold on to Cash. You know, like they are the true like prime example of endgame. It's been nice to see like Cash be more comfortable, have like aspirations which aren't illegal, have ambition and drive which isn't going to get him in prison behind bars. You know, it's lovely to see. I'm so here for it. I feel like the friendships within this season have seemed a lot more valuable compared to season 3. I feel like there was so many obstructions. I mean, there was obstruction this season. I feel like there was so many obstructions in season 2 that like people didn't always appreciate and acknowledge their friendships. Apart from Harper and Anne-Marie, I think Anne-Marie felt so guilty because of how she treated Harper prior. Her core focus on season 2 was to make sure that she was surrounded by Harper. And, you know, she's so dedicated to Harper, and they have a wonderful friendship. It's beautiful to see. I think the most noticeable friendship that comes to mind when I think of like a real true example of like how dedicated they are is Quinny and Darren. I think Darren became quite fabricated and quite fixated on being with Cash, spending time with Cash in season 2. That they neglected their relationship with Quinny, you know. And I think naturally when you are establishing a new relationship, that being platonic or romantic, you do like prioritize them, right, to an extent. But I think it's really important to find the midpoint. And to be fair to Quinny called Darren out and said, like, I don't see you, I don't spend time with you, like, come on, find a way in between. You know, it's really beautiful. And Darren is Quinny's biggest cheerleader. Like, it's so like beautiful seeing how Darren will do the most for Quinny, you know. Darren is Quinny's biggest support. I just love their friendship. I love that they're both queer. It's just great, you know. Like, where like prime examples I think of are like where like Taz delivers a book for Quinny and then brings it to like that apartment like flat they're living in, right? And then Quinny literally says like, how did you know I was here? To which Darren said, oh, I told her. Obviously, Quinny isn't impressed, but that's just Darren doing their best intentions. Same with on the final episode where they go on the boat party and Darren is like wandering around with Quinny trying to set her up, you know, because they just want the best for them. And I think there's also a bit of guilt because they're moving to New York and they won't be able to do what they're doing there, which they are now, or then, which they were before, you know. But then to which Quinny's just like, just leave me alone, it's good. I also really liked Malachi and Cash's friendship. I feel like Malachi doesn't really have a lot of friends, unfortunately. Like, he's obviously quite close with Missy. He's friends with Amory, but not friends with Amory, so it's not really the same. And then, like, everyone else is just kind of, like, cool with him, but I wouldn't go as far as friends. I think Cash has a similar thing. Cash is very much, like, obviously friends with them all, but they're his friends because of Darren. I think it's really important to distinguish how, like, there are some friends that are your friends, and they can be your friends because of your partner, but, like, it's not the same, you know? I wouldn't want to be purely and purely friends with people because I'm friends with people because I'm friends. No, their friend is my partner, or vice versa. Do you know what I mean? There needs to be like a distinct like subcategory or separate group, you know? I think it's really important. And I don't know if that was intended, but I think they were that for each other, you know? Like, obviously, Cash is trained to be an apprentice. He gives Malachi a tattoo. I genuinely thought Heartbreak High and cheeky, yeah. In the trailer, I genuinely thought this was like a foreshadow of them being a couple. And I thought, nah, don't do that. So I'm very glad that wasn't the case. But even like when Cash is talking about going to New York with Darren, and then Malachi obviously gets like a somewhat sense is very much like, is that what you want? To which Cash gets quite snappy. But I think the whole point in them feeling comfortable enough with each other to even have those conversations is great. And I can't remember what, to be honest. Sorry, I binged it very quickly. And then like even Malachi talking about his feelings for Anne-Marie, you know, and Cash is like there for him. So I do think, yeah, I do really like Cash and Malachi's friendship in season 3. I thought like the writing was really clever. I thought it was really great. I'm so fearful when like we get this deep into a show that it kind of lacks, but like it was funny, it was witty, it was just silly, you know. Like they're just like, it is the best Gen Z representation I've ever seen, you know. Like it really hit it on the nail. I feel like Australian sense of humor may be quite similar to British as a British boy, yeah. Primarily like when consuming pop culture as a young person, it predominantly tends to be American, right? And like, I don't know whether we've just been like conditioned into liking it or having to like pretend it's funny, but I don't find a lot of American stuff funny. You know, there's very rare occasions. I find Friends funny, but not for the right reasons. I find That's So Raven funny. Yeah, I'm rewatching Hannah Montana at the moment, and I am finding that quite funny, to be honest. But like, it doesn't land a lot. But I feel like the Heartbreak High team have perfectly found the mix and match of capturing the Gen Z experience with it being awkward, uncomfortable, direct, funny, gritty, explicit, you know. And I think a lot of shows which are centered around the Gen Z subculture really are able to land. And I think the Heartbreak High team really landed with it. So big up Heartbreak High team. I love the plot. I really love the plot. I thought it was really clever. I was quite concerned because I thought, obviously, like every like good story has a plot or a dilemma. That's just the way how like a storyline or a narrative works. But like I was really intrigued to think, how is this going to like match? You know, because season 1 was very much about what did Anne Marie do to Harper to make Harper so mad at her. Season 2, who is Bird Psycho? Who has it in for Anne Marie? And then season 3, who turned on the ride? You know, like these stories and these questions constantly keep you thinking. You know, they really nailed it on the head. Kind of somewhat similar to season 2 because you're thinking who is the person behind it, whereas season 1 is like Anne Marie is responsible, but what did she do? Whereas season 2 and 3 is very much okay, someone is doing this. Who is it? It's similar, but it's different. It's trying to figure out who did it, and I love how like there's always so many multiple suspects. I think it kind of summarizes how Anne Marie really does have an op. Anne Marie loves an op, you know. But it kept me on my feet. Initially, I thought it was Noah's friend. I want to say Ben, but I can't remember. Then I thought it was Liam, the stepson of the guy who was in the incident. And then, like when it came to like it was Sasha, I thought, oh, right. And you know what? Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed in Sasha because Sasha is really jarring, but like she's quite clever. And I feel like for such a clever person, why would you be so stupid? Even if she just like flicked the switch off then turned it off afterwards, or like slicked it, or like flipped the switch on, panicked and thought, oh, yo, shouldn't have rolled with that, then turned it off. You know, it just didn't really make sense, to be honest. Yeah. But but it was clever, and I enjoyed the constant teasing. Like it was never certain. I guess that's the whole point in logging out for 8 episodes. But you would I was certain it was Noah's friend for like the longest time, and then even like when Liam got arrested, I thought it's kind of too good to be true. And then when we figure out that it's Sasha, I'm like, yeah, okay, fair. But I appreciated it. I appreciate how they were trying to go about it and trying to like keep us on our toes, you know. I feel like a lot of shows could really learn from that. I think Quinny is some of the best autism representation I've ever seen. You know, like I feel like there's such a lack and such an absence of autistic representation. And when it's there, it's usually one very particular way, you know. It's really refreshing to see Quinny. It's really relatable, you know, like the fixations, the social awkwardness, and the generally just trying to navigate life as an autistic person. You know, I think her character is so important, so prominent, and it's really beautiful to see how she has such a unit. You know, a lot of the time when we watch these shows, these autistic people are generally quite lonely, and don't really have a community. You know. Quinny is so loved and so adored, you know, and so appreciated for being just her. No necessary sugarcoating, no trying to like meet the needs of others, just being embraced and appreciated for who she is as a person who is autistic, you know. I think Chloe Hayden portrayed the role perfectly. I think it was so relatable. It was so beautifully done. I feel Quinny's pain when I watch these things and I see things happen. I relate to Quinny's pain. You know, I think her character is a staple within the landscape, you know, for pop culture, for autistic representation, for queer autistic representation. You know, it's such I just think she nailed it. You know, I think my biggest praise about Heartbreak High 100% is Quinny. I'm obsessed with Cash's Nan. She's so chaotic, and I just feel like she'd be such a laugh, you know, like she's just so tea. She loves it. I love that she's an ally. I just think I do kind of love it. Maybe not so much to experience, but I do kind of love those like older characters that are in that position, in that place in life where they just don't give an F. Cash's Gran is just like, she's goated, and it's where like they're talking about going to New York, and Cash is like, oh, not too sure, I can't leave you. And Cash's Gran is like, do not stay because of me, do not be stupid, go and be with your babes, you know? I'm just obsessed with her. I think she's great. And like even the bit where like Cash is like the only one who's graduated, and then Cash is saying that not everyone's in the mood to celebrate, and where Cash is like, nonsense, F all you lot because you messed up. This is a celebration. I think, yeah, she's iconic. She's goated. One thing that I really didn't expect and I'm really impressed with is how they found a solution for Cash and Darren's relationship. I think it's really cool, and I was really impressed by how they figured out a solution for Cash and Darren's relationship, because based on how their relationship ended in season 2, I didn't think there would be a way possible for it to move forward personally. You know, it was quite uncertain whether or not Cash and Darren would be together in season 3, because even in the trailers, you can't really tell, you know, and I think having an open relationship has saved Cash and Darren, you know. It may be somewhat taboo and non-conventional, but it works for them, you know. Cash is obviously asexual, Darren is hypersexual, two very extreme positions to each other, you know, like they align perfectly in every way apart from intimacy, you know. But with that being said, no matter who Darren chooses to like fumble with or to do whatever with, their safe place is Cash, you know. And it would have been a real shame for it to have not ended with them together, because I think like their love is so pure and so strong, and even though like it may not be common and it may not be like traditional, like it's still a love story, you know. Like watching from season 1, as you hear Cash say, Cash has loved Darren since year 8. It's always been Darren, before Darren probably even clocked on to Cash, you know. And I feel like even though not every single box is ticked and has been ticked by Cash, the vast majority have been. And if that's not a reason to stay together, then what is? You know, it was really unexpected. Like because I remember saying to my friend about it, I was like, what happens? Does Cash have to cave and have sex with Darren? Or does Darren just have to go a life without being sexual ever again? Like no one's winning that way, you know, because one person is still going to be uncomfortable and unsatisfied. But I think this works, you know, as long as it's like, I believe what the agreement is, they can only do a hookup once or something, and it can't be regular or familiar, which is fair, like, because that's when feelings get built naturally. When you like are intimate with someone, if you're doing it on the reg ongoingly, you are going to catch some sort of feeling, even if it's not like a like wannabe boyfriend, wannabe girlfriend, wannabe partner feeling. It's very much like they're like a backup, you know. And I think it's basically getting too intimate and too comfortable with someone, which I get. Like it makes sense. I was really excited for Anne-Marie to finally chill relationship-wise. Like, I knew Malachi was coming back, yeah. I knew Malachi was going to come back and was going to, like, rumble, like what's the saying? Rumble feathers, tuffle feathers, play with feathers. What is the saying? Hustle some feathers? I actually can't remember. Something to do with feathers. I didn't expect them to get back. Well, I kind of did, but I was hoping they wouldn't. I just feel like Noah, out of all the guys that Anne-Marie has like dabbled with, Noah is the most secure. I think Noah is the most transparent. Noah is the most vocal. I think Noah is absolutely dedicated to Anne-Marie for her flaws, right? And I'm not being funny. I'm pretty sure Malachi liked to point out Anne-Marie's flaws. You don't get that from Noah. You know, he literally is what Anne-Marie wants. I feel like Anne-Marie like doesn't like safety. I feel like Anne-Marie is like very much about like risk and risk only, you know? I'm really hoping that like aesthetic leaves her when she gets into her 20s. But, you know, you really couldn't ask for much more from a boyfriend. You know, he's so dedicated to her. And there's a lot of things that Anne-Marie does that, like, really just kind of get ignored, you know? Like, the way that she moves. I wouldn't let someone chill with their ex-boyfriend if they were dating me, personally. And it's quite interesting because the only things that Noah does which can be deemed or seen as flaws are things that Anne-Marie led him to. Noah is seen, obviously, at the... Not seen, sorry, but like Noah is at the carnival watching Anne-Marie because, understandably, he's insecure because she's with Malachi. Noah doesn't approve of Anne-Marie handing herself in, pretending to be the person who turned on the ride because, yet again, he cares for Anne-Marie's future. Like, her future could be effed up. Leave it to Sasha. She's the one that clicked on the switch, you know, to which then leads Anne-Marie leaving him. Like, and I don't know, that's a bit complex though, because in my head I think, Is it because he cares for Anne-Marie deeply, or is it because he doesn't want his reputation to be tarnished? Do you know what I mean? That is a bit techie. Like I will respect that one where justice where due, it is a bit techie. I just feel like she always wants more. Like sometimes it's actually okay to play it safe. It's not like danger and risks every single day. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to be the case, Anne-Marie. Like you could be happy. You could be happy, Anne-Marie. Okay, so let's talk about what I didn't like in this season. I honestly find Sasha insufferable. I think Sasha is self-destructive. I think she's jarring. I think she's unnecessarily irritating, you know. The way that she moves makes her so unlikable, you know. And I just think, like, for someone that is so irritating and for someone that really does the most when they really don't need to, Sasha honestly didn't even cross my mind for turning on the ride. I didn't think she'd be that stupid. For someone that's like so to the book and so to the rules, you'd think she would be a bit different, you know? And then I think it really topped it off when Anne-Marie figured it out and then confronted her and she continues to deny it. Honestly, I'm sorry. When Sasha fell off that boat, you should have left her. I thought, Anne-Marie, come on, don't be dumb. Don't be silly. And then Malachi as well. I thought, like, sometimes you just need to let things go. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think Gemma, the actress, did a great job. I think she is amazing at playing Sasha. I think she portrayed the character amazingly. I just don't have sympathy. I don't appreciate and understand how you can try to sabotage your friend's safety, try to put your friends in prison, and yet you're begging for forgiveness. You know, I think like Sasha is obviously really insecure. That's really apparent. You know, she doesn't really get validation from her parents, doesn't get it from her friends or from like the women that she likes. So I do appreciate why she is the way she is, but there's just other ways to go about it. I'm insecure. You don't catch me turning on rides trying to get my friends hurt. I'm insecure. You don't see me trying to get my friends locked in prison, you know? Obviously, like, I understand why she is the way she is, but I just think, like, the character progression just isn't progressing. Yes, she eventually handed herself in and did the right thing, but, like, I don't know. I just feel like if Anne-Marie hadn't have found the hat, like, the head, I feel like Sasha would just be chilling. Yeah, but big up Gemma. Very talented young girl. Very talented. I do feel like Missy and Spider should have been endgame, to be honest. Like, I am quite upset. like I feel like when you watch their relationship, right, for the most part, it's quite sweet and quite happy. And like Spider said to Missy in season 2, you make me want to be better. You know, you make me want to do more and to be better. And I think that's really powerful. Okay, granted, it's not a reason as to why you should stay with somebody. Granted, it's not a reason why you should stay with somebody, but I was just really rooting for them. I love seeing Spider in his soppy era, the way he plays with the animals, the way he gets so excited for Missy's birthday. I just really thought he was the one, but I do appreciate how, like, having those good memories isn't a reason why you should be holding on to something. You know, I do get that, but I just really wanted them to be together. But I do feel like Spider is going to treat his next girlfriend really, really well, and Missy will treat her next whoever really, really well. So there's some pros, I guess. What happened to Ant and Harper? Like, I was really like expecting like a full like proposal in season 3 because Ant's quite like direct and Ant's quite like true to the point. I really thought we had something going there. I do like Liam though. Like it felt like a bit weird how like Harper didn't really get to have a conversation with Liam, especially because Liam didn't actually do anything. You know, they were planning to go away together and Liam knew that Harper did what she did. So I don't understand what changed. You know, that didn't really make sense to me. Like, I will say that. I don't know if Anne-Marie and Malachi should actually be together. Like, I just feel like no relationship should be that complex. The passion and the chemistry is undeniable. But at what cost? At what cost? Anne-Marie was chilling, minding her biz, doing what she needed to do. And then my man reappears, you know? I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it's better to have lost than to have never had. Is that right? Lost and to have never had. I feel like sometimes it's okay to. I think sometimes it's okay to admit defeat. I really don't see how they're ever going to have a healthy relationship. Like there was so much of there was such a lack of communication prior, and like they both wanted different things that just didn't work. So I feel like the passion they have for each other is definitely more overriding than the love they have for each other, in my opinion. I just really think it might be time for a timeout. But I support Anne-Marie's wrongs. And if she gets back with him, like, it's okay. I'll subscribe. But like, I feel like it might be time to call it a day. Permanently. With a lock. That can't be unsealed. In my opinion. There wasn't really like enough or a lot of a plot between Cash and Darren. I feel like Cash like really lacked a bit of substance this season, to be honest. Like, love Will McDonald. Love Will McDonald. Love seeing the character progression, but like it feels like Cash doesn't have his own story. It feels like Cash is very focused and centered around catering to Darren's needs. Like, yeah, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense, to be honest. I'm not really understanding it. I'm not really acknowledging it. I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like Cash had so much to bring. And like, we do get more with Darren. Darren, we get like the situation with drama school, giving up, not giving up, bouncing back. But like, I like the focus on the couple for this season was about them going to New York, But I don't know if that's because they had so many complications with intimacy in season 1 and 2. I think maybe they thought for season 3, let's actually give it a rest. Let's let them be like the actual relationship itself. Let's allow them to be comfortable and happy. Maybe that was the case. I don't know. We still don't know what Malachi wrote in that letter. Like, I appreciate and I understand that some people love the illusion and like love to like not know what happens next and all of that. But like, I need to know what was in that letter. What did you say that was so shocking and so like brutal and like direct that Anne-Marie had to jump out and leave like Darren's show? What did you say that had that much substance? You know what I mean? I appreciate some people like not knowing, but like I'm not there. I need to know. I will be contacting the team, being like, what was said? Like I just feel like out of all of the parts that you could have blurred and like minimized the volume, and it wasn't for that. Baby, I need to know. Ooh. Yeah, come on, like, pattern up. Do you know, one thing that I'm not too keen on, which I find quite noticeable, especially in season 3, I think that Anne-Marie is really dependent on Harper. I think Harper is quite independent and she hasn't really had a choice but to be independent. She's very much like does her own thing because of the situation with her dad. She hasn't really got an alternative, right? Whereas Anne-Marie quite clearly wants Harper by her side. I don't think Anne-Marie can be without Harper. Like, even when like they're planning uni together, I don't think Harper actually ever really wants to go to uni. It's more like Anne-Marie wants them to be together. And even when Harper says that she's not going to uni, Anne-Marie's response is very much like, well, you can visit me every lunch, And at that point I thought, okay, let them be independent. Let them do their thing. They're always going to be best friends, whether they're together all the time or not. Like, that's inevitable in a hypothetical fictional world. But like, even then when Anne-Marie decides not to go to uni and then stick with Harper, I think, is that what you want? Or is that because you don't know how to be without Harper? They've been friends since they were kids. They've always been together. They've been together every day for so long. And I just kind of think, I don't know. Maybe it's not really a dislike. I feel like Harper is so capable of doing her own thing because she's had no choice to for a long time. But Anne-Marie just isn't the same, And I love Anne-Marie. I support her wrongs. I will always subscribe to her. But I just think, do you know what? Let Harper do her own thing. That's how I see it anyway. I've also written here how like Anne-Marie can't appreciate something good. I feel like Anne-Marie is always aspiring for something else. I think Noah was so sexy. He wanted Anne-Marie for all of her flaws. And Anne-Marie to be fair, Anne-Marie is quite funny because Anne-Marie is quite an unfortunate person. Like, a lot of her behavior is self-destructive, but the other half, she's just really unlucky, And I see quite a lot, I see the comparison between Anne-Marie and Davy from Never Have I Ever. Both amazingly talented, beautiful South Asian women. Anne-Marie and Davy actually aren't the same. Davy is her own worst victim, right? Davy like actively makes things more difficult for herself, without a doubt, right? Anne-Marie is just really unlucky. Anne-Marie is just really unlucky. She happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. She sometimes doesn't really get the memo and doesn't appreciate a boundary. However, I just don't think they're comparable. Like they're really not. I see it online quite a lot. I'm like, guys, just because they're both South Asian women, let's not do the comparison. We can't even compare when there is no comparison to be made. Do you know what I mean? I'm really glad that Anne-Marie is a woman of color. I'm really glad Anne-Marie is South Asian. I think for so long within fiction and media and that landscape as a whole, people of color tend to be side characters or comedic. We don't really get acknowledged and appreciated to be like a leading role. And I think Aisha played the role perfectly. You know, it's so refreshing and so nice to see someone be a leading role who isn't white, to be honest, you know, especially on like this show has been so well received. I haven't seen an Australian show have this much reception for ever. I don't know if that's just because of the content that I consume, but like, you know, like I think she's astonishing. I think her talent is unmatched, and I'm really excited to see where she goes. You know, I think she's great. I think she's incredible. I'm glad it ended when it did. I think some shows have a tendency to like beat a bush even when it's dead. You know, I think 3 seasons is perfect, especially like in a high school capacity, and especially because respectfully they are all in their like mid to late 20s. I think it was, really, really well done. And I think I still have a hunger for more because they ended on a high, you know. They all get a solution. They're all going on certain paths. You know, there's a lot of comfort around. Maybe not for Sasha, but I can cope with that, you know. I think they've done like really, really well. I'm excited for the future of the cast. I think they're all insanely talented. I'm excited to like dive into the other avenues and the other projects. Yeah, just a really beautiful cast that all like contributed so much, but yet they worked so well as an ensemble, you know, really refreshing, especially in a time when it's so needed, you know. Beautiful queer representation, beautiful autistic representation, same for asexual representation. You know, there's so much, and it doesn't feel, the representation in Heartbreak High, it doesn't feel forced. I feel like a lot of like Gen Z young adult shows, they're trying to tick boxes, but like in Heartbreak High, it naturally flows. Yes, we have a woman who's autistic. Yes, we have an asexual character, a non-binary character, you know, but they all like, it just naturally flows. It's so rare to have that. And I think that contributes to the longevity and to the success of Heartbreak High, having these characters which aren't always given the recognition and the spotlight which they deserve, but it's been done in a way which is so optimistic without making it the main feature, you know? They have these characteristics which make them them, but it isn't the main focus. It contributes to their story and their narrative, but it's not the core reason as to why they are who they are. And I just think that's great. You know, they've really done their big one. I want to say the acting in this season was really good, but like obviously I do love this show. So like if I'm like being biased, you can call me out. I think the one scene that I was obsessed with was the scene when Sasha clocks on that Anne-Marie knows. The bit where she's obviously taken something, hallucinating somewhat, and then Anne-Marie puts like the head on, you know, and the part when they're up on the boat and Anne-Marie is just screaming at Sasha, you know, I thought was great. I thought it was like perfect. Aisha is really good at like the mix and match. She's really good at being serious, but she's really good at being funny. She's so comedic. She's so good. And that's quite rare. And I think Anne-Marie has that really cool range. Like, I think these POC comedic characters can sometimes be seen as purely a joker and nothing else. But like, that's not the case, you know. Anne-Marie, she really knows how to go for it when needs must. And I just think, I thought the acting was phenomenal. Also, like, query, is there a reason why Darren and Cash don't kiss in this season? Because season 1 and season 2, it was very much tonsil tennis, very like tongue down throat type of vibe. And like this season, it's like very kiss on lip, push onto other lip. I'm like, I don't know, like, it's not a criticism. I'm genuinely just intrigued. Is there a reason? Is it because they are partners? I don't think it's weird that that's what they do because Cash is asexual. I think it's interesting because before it wasn't the case, and Cash has actually said he enjoyed kissing Darren. I just thought it was really interesting, and I haven't really seen much conversation on it. I just wondered what was the reason behind it. I think I've covered everything I need to cover. I really hope. I love this show. I think this show is great. I hope I've given it justice here today. I think the show is so important. I think it represents Gen Z so well. I think it covers so many topics without it being overkill or overboard. I'm so excited for the legacy of Heartbreak High to go on for God knows how long. You know, the show is a staple. Heartbreak High is a staple in Gen Z culture. Heartbreak High is the first Gen Z show I've seen where, like, I'm not cringing. You know, it's relatable, it's funny, it's wholesome, it's kind of heartbreaking at points, but it's overall, it's just fantastic, you know. And I think a lot of people who are in the process of making shows which are Gen Z or catered to young people and young adults think Heartbreak High should be your reference point, personally. But that is all from me. Hope you've enjoyed the conversation. Guys, not to be that guy. So I filmed this already, right? And my camera and my SD card exploded. Just went bam. So that SD card is currently in the bin. Thankfully, I have a spare. And I hope this works so I can see you soon. My name is Jord, and this is the Winning Side Podcast Heartbreak High Edition. I really hope I've given this show justice that it deserves and needs. And yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you sooner than later. And I hope you enjoy the conversation. Like, share, and subscribe.